Hi everyone, I'm Max.
I'm Marla, and welcome to our next edition of our Pacific Adventure.
Hi, a lot has happened since we last posted a video. For one thing, we're scheduled to hit 8 ports and 5 countries in a 12 to 14 day period. We also crossed the international date line. We moved from the Western Hemisphere to the Eastern Hemisphere. And probably the most important thing is we won at Beatles Trivia with a perfect score of 20 out of 20. The first stop on this segment of our cruise was Raiatea,
Ranty.
Raiatea in French Polynesia. And to be honest, there wasn't a lot to do here. We walked around the little downtown or central business district or whatever you want to call it. And it was very small, kind of outdated shops. So people weren't really all that friendly. The highlight for me maybe was popping in this grocery store that was very modern, large, air conditioned. It was very nice. And we kind of look around. I always think that gives you a glimpse into the culture and lifestyle of the people in the country we're in. So I always like to do that. And we ended up at a open air bar and had a couple of beers and some frites, and that pretty much was our day.
Our next stop after that was Moorea in the French Polynesia, and all of the ports that we visited in French Polynesia, we were greeted by Polynesian dancers. It could have been a couple, it could have been a whole group of people, but it was interesting, and you kind of get a glimpse into their cultural um, makeup. This was our first true excursion that we actually scheduled, and it was a 4x4 Jeep truck thing that took us throughout the town, but the first part of it was really rough. We were climbing up a mountain, if that's what you call it, and we got to see on that a lot of really cool things. Besides the lookouts, we saw the Maria Tahitian Temple, a pineapple plantation, a river with eels, and we had a liquor tasting at a pineapple factory. There wasn't a lot of factory work going on, but it was nice. But truly the best part was the two. We started with a lookout with an incredible view, and we ended with another lookout with an even more incredible view. It was really, really nice. You got to see the coral reefs, and it was just cool.
Our next stop was in Papeete, which is on the island of Tahiti in the French Polynesia. And it was a nice little downtown, much nicer than our first stop. And one thing we did was we stopped at this nice bar right on the water. It's kind of a tiki hut thing, and sampled some of the local beers. And along with grocery stores, one of my pet it's not pet peeve, but one of the things I like
Must
to
see.
must see is McDonald's. I like to see what each country has in terms of unique items and even check out prices and things like that. So we had planned to stop at the one in this little area, and we hadn't even planned on eating there. I just like to go in and see them. And as soon as we got there, the skies opened up and it poured for at least 45
Okay.
minutes. And so we did have lunch there. But the highlight was a Kit Kat McFlurry, which was pretty expensive. I want to say it's $5.
Five or six, yeah.
Yeah. And it's very large, though. We didn't even finish it. But
Yeah.
um, uh, another thing, we stopped at one last bar and had some drinks, and you could see some of the cruise line people there. They got to get off the ship, and overall, I think that what I liked is that people were very friendly here, and seemed to be genuinely excited to see us.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Our next stop was Apia in Western Samoa. It was a blistering hot day, and to get from where the ship docked to town was probably a mile and a half.
Yeah.
Not very scenic mile and a half, but once you got there, we just kind of walked around. There wasn't truly a lot to do. You just kind of checked out what the people there were doing, and it was nice. But the highlight of that, two highlights. It had a beautiful cathedral, Immaculate Conception Cathedral. The ceiling was incredible, hand carved wood. It was just, and it was huge, huge, huge cathedral. And everybody I think that we talked to that on the ship when we got back, that was kind of the highlight of their trip was, just seeing this beautiful cathedral. The second highlight of that was as we were walking in up the ramp to go into the cathedral, I stopped and I saw this guy standing there, a taxi driver, and he had on Chiefs, Kansas City Chiefs shorts. We were cracking up, so I had to have my picture taken with him. I think he thought we were crazy, and we are, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It was fun for us. And that one, we stopped on the way back to the hotel to have our local beer tasting, which was nice because it was I think a Sheraton.
Mhm.
And we could pay actually with credit card because a lot of the places you can only pay with their cash or their dollars. So that was fun.
Yeah.
It was nice to have a little break on such a hot day before we got back to the ship.
Yeah. Okay, next stop was in Fiji, a town called Suva, and this was a really hot day, but luckily the town was very compact. We decided we're going to get off the ship early before it got too bad, and we walked to the furthest point that we had identified that we wanted to check out, which was only a mile.
Yeah, it's only a mile.
And the beautiful botanical garden, not real big, and we were actually expecting more plants and stuff, but it was a beautiful area, and it was just nice to stroll around. They had places you could sit and
Enjoy the shade.
a clock tower, and it was definitely worth stopping in. But right across the street from there was a hotel called the Grand Pacific Hotel, and it was beautiful. I mean, picture this was built in 1914, and it just looks like an old British hotel that you would expect on an island like this. And we didn't get to see the rooms, but apparently they look like rooms off of the cruise ship because this was built by a cruise line company. And we enjoyed a beer there and just relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we head back to town. Then it was getting really busy. It was a Saturday. The locals were out doing their shopping. You had two cruise ships in port. And so it got a little hectic. We stopped in a nice air-conditioned mall and, putzed around and found a butt street, which we had to check out. And then we stopped in a grocery store that was really pretty nice, and they had the largest Tang selection I've ever seen. And I remember asking Marla, how many astronauts live in this city? I mean, who else would drink Tang? But I mean, it was nice. And the reason we actually popped into that grocery store is we picked up a couple of things for the staff in the main dining room that takes care of us every day. They're great, and we wanted to surprise them with a couple of gifts.
Right. And quite honestly, when was the last time you even saw Tang is what I was thinking. And you wondered how old it is. But anyway, our next stop was Dravuni Island in Fiji, and a beautiful, totally undeveloped island. I think the population is less than 200. Totally just a great place to just really, I think a lot of people snorkeled and sat on the beach all day. But we got off the ship the first tender, and because we wanted to hike up to the top, the lookout point, which looked a lot closer than it was in real life, for one thing, and it was also very steep. By the time we got up there, it was worth the view. It was a beautiful view. Just very, again, very, very hot. I think not only is the temperature hot, but the humidity in all of these places is equal to the temperature. So, if it's an 85-degree day, the humidity is 85 degrees, which is kind of hard to get used to, but it's worth it. The other thing we did there after we did our long hike up, we just both came down and got in the ocean, cooled down, and then went back to the ship because truly there was just nothing to do there. And it was Sunday, and Sunday's a special day to them. So even the locals weren't really out like they, I think, normally are selling whatever wares they have for tourists to buy. So
Yeah, all 200 of them
exactly.
were not out.
Exactly.
And this is a place where they don't even have cars or anything. This is this is Gilligan's Island. It's just
Gilligan's
very
Island.
small,
Mm-hmm.
but it was worth the stop, and we enjoyed it.
It is, and everybody on all of these last couple of islands are very, very friendly. You can't walk by a local person without them saying bula bula, which is like their hello. So we got used to a lot of bula bulas back and forth. So our next stop was supposed to be Port Vila in Vanuatu, and due to the conditions, we weren't able to stop there, and we were a little disappointed. We actually had another tour planned, which was going to be a glass bottom boat and snorkeling safari, is what it was called. But better not to have to at least tender in, which we found is very easy to tender in, but getting the tender back takes a little bit of time. So disappointment, but there's nothing you can do about it. It's for our own safety.
The last stop of this segment of the cruise was New Caledonia, and we didn't even get off the boat because I always research these places ahead of time using artificial intelligence, and this place had a State Department risk level of 3. Every other stop on this cruise is at risk level 1. And I pulled it up. A risk level 1 means exercise normal precautions. Risk level 2 means exercise increased caution. Risk level 3 is reconsider travel. Risk level 4 is you better have a will because you're going to die. And so we were way too close to risk level 4. And I'm sure there's nothing in New Caledonia worth risking your life over. So we made that a day on the ship and relaxed.
Exactly. The other thing I think Max mentioned earlier was we crossed the international date line, which is interesting because we went to bed on February 10th and woke up February 12th. And so it took us a little while to get used to, especially, things back home. Everybody's a day behind us, and it's hard to get accustomed to, it's this day here, but what day is it back home? And not only that, what time is it? So, but we're getting used to it.
Yeah. And that's really the end of this part of our cruise. We're now heading towards New Zealand, and we're going to have 5 stops over an 8-day period, I believe. And we hope to get back to you and report back on New Zealand when we're in that segment between New Zealand and Australia. So stay tuned. We hope that's going to be our 5th video shortly. Mm-hmm.
And we hope you enjoyed our change of scenery.
Yes, we're out on our balcony, as you can tell. So until next time, aloha.
Aloha.